The restaurant hummed with the steady rhythm of forks clinking against porcelain, wine glasses chiming with laughter, and conversations flowing like low streams weaving together. The lighting was warm, golden, casting a soft glow on polished tables and polished people who had come to dine in their curated elegance. Isabel Hartley had chosen the corner booth deliberately. It offered a view of the room, yet kept her partly hidden. That was how she liked it these days. Present but not exposed. She sat tall in her custom wheelchair, a sleek design of carbon fiber and leather that looked less like medical equipment and more like an extension of her impeccable taste. Her tailored navy blazer framed her shoulders, and her golden hair fell in waves, pinned just enough to keep her sharp profile unobstructed. Her hands rested loosely on the edge of the table, though her fingers betrayed the tension she carried, tightening and releasing against the polished wood. Blind dates were not her world. Not anymore, but her assistant had insisted. Said she needed a night out, a reminder that life wasn't just boardrooms and quarterly projections. Isabel had relented against her better judgment, and now she waited, her pulse too steady, her smile rehearsed. Then the man arrived, loud, brash, the type who pushed open a door as though the world owed him attention. His eyes scanned the room, landed on her, and in a heartbeat the air changed. He froze, then laughed, sharp, cutting, and started toward her table. The conversations around them faltered, sensing a disturbance before it fully landed. "Wait," he said, voice rising in disbelief. "You're in a wheelchair? This is a joke, right?" The words cracked across the restaurant like a whip. Forks paused mid-air, glasses stopped mid-sip. Heads turned. A couple in the booth nearby leaned sideways, whispering behind their menus. Isabel didn't flinch, not outwardly, though her grip on the table tightened until her knuckles whitened. She had known this was a risk. "Still, it stung. I mean, come on," the man continued, louder now, standing back as though she had tricked him. "You're the girl from the app? You didn't say you were—" He motioned crudely toward her chair. "Broken!" Gasps rippled. A waiter froze mid-step. Somewhere near the bar, a phone camera lifted, recording. Isabel straightened, her spine tall, her face calm, the CEO mask sliding perfectly into place. Her voice, when it came, was low and controlled. "I didn't think I had to explain that," she said. "I'm here for a conversation. If you came for a fantasy, I'm not it." The man barked out a cruel laugh, the kind that demanded the room laugh with him. "You're right," he sneered, louder still. "You're not. I thought I matched with Isabel Hartley, the CEO, the billionaire biotech genius, not some sympathy case." And there it was. He knew, and now so did everyone else. A wave of whispers followed, recognition spreading like fire across the room. "Is that really her?" someone mouthed. "The woman in the wheelchair, the woman who ran Eris Biotech, who had been on the cover of Forbes, who had survived the accident." Cameras tilted. Faces leaned closer. Isabel sat motionless. Perfect hair, perfect blazer, perfectly on display. But inside, a familiar wound reopened, raw and unforgiving. She reached for her bag, intent on leaving, her escape rehearsed countless times before. Better to leave with dignity than stay in humiliation. She would leave alone. Again. Then a voice cut across the tension, calm, steady. "I think that's enough." Every head turned. A man stood in the doorway. Tall, broad-shouldered, dressed not for this kind of place but for work, worn denim jacket, dusty work boots, the faint smudge of grease on his collar. He walked forward with quiet purpose, not toward the heckler but toward her. His eyes never left hers. He reached her side, placed a hand gently on the back of her chair, and leaned down just enough for her to hear his words. "Are you ready to go?" he asked softly. Isabel blinked. For a moment she thought this was another cruel twist, some performance. But his gaze was steady, kind, not pitying. "Just present." She gave the smallest nod, her throat too tight for words. The man straightened, turned to the one who had mocked her, and spoke only once more. "She deserves better." And with that, he turned her chair toward the door. No one stopped them. No one dared. The restaurant that had erupted in whispers and mockery fell into a stunned silence, left with the image of a man who did not raise his voice, only his presence. Outside, the air was cool, carrying the faint scent of rain. Isabel's shoulders, tight as wire inside, began to ease. He let go of the chair once they reached the sidewalk, as if to remind her she wasn't being taken, only guided. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "I didn't mean to interrupt. I just couldn't watch that happen." She looked up at him then, at his stubbled jaw, tired eyes, grease-stained collar. "You don't even know me." "Didn't need to," he replied with a shrug. For the first time that night, a laugh slipped past her guard. Small, surprised. "Thank you, Liam," he said simply, offering his name. "Isabel," she replied, though he clearly already knew. "Nice to meet you, Isabel," he said, like she was anyone else. Something about that undid her more than the insult inside had. They stood in silence for a beat, just city sounds and her heart slowly steadying. "I didn't get to eat," she admitted finally. "Skipped lunch for, well, that." Liam glanced back at the glowing windows of the restaurant. "Doesn't look like you missed much. There's a food truck nearby. Nothing fancy. But the grilled cheese? Legendary," she hesitated. Street food hadn't been part of her life in years. Not since the accident. Not since she had wrapped herself in controlled environments where spills and stares couldn't touch her. But the warmth in his tone, casual and unpressured, was disarming. "Why not?" she said softly. "Good," he replied, and for the first time that night his grin broke wide. "Because I was already heading there." They turned down a quieter street, her chair rolling steadily, his boots crunching the sidewalk beside her. He didn't hover, didn't push unless she asked, just matched her pace without effort. At the corner, the modest food stall came into view, strung with yellow bulbs that glowed against the darkening sky. The air was thick with the smell of garlic, soy, charred meat, the sound of laughter spilling from families perched on mismatched stools. Isabel felt out of place, yet oddly at ease. Liam ordered 2 skewers, fried dumplings, and a bottle of sparkling water. When the plates arrived, the server leaned clumsily, and a streak of thick sauce slipped from the skewer, splattering across Isabel's shoe and ankle. She froze, face flushing hot. This was the kind of moment she dreaded, when her difference became magnified, when quick movements weren't possible. She braced for the apologies, the pity, the awkward silence. Instead, Liam calmly reached into his jacket and pulled out a folded cloth rag, the kind a mechanic always carried. "Hold on," he murmured. Without waiting for her embarrassment to build, he crouched beside her, dabbing the sauce from her leather shoe. Then gently he lifted her foot, supported it with both hands, and set it back onto the footrest. Not a flicker of hesitation. Not a drop of pity. Just care. Isabel's breath caught. No one touched her like that. Not since before the accident. Every gesture since had been careful, condescending, or calculated. But Liam's touch was steady, practical, kind. Her eyes stung unexpectedly, tears threatening. She blinked fast, willing them away. "There," he said simply, straightening. "Good as new." She stared, searching for words, finally whispering, "Thank you." He shrugged lightly. "It's just sauce." "No," she said, her voice firmer. "It isn't." Their eyes met across the small table, and for a long moment the noise of the stall faded. He didn't look at her chair. He didn't look at her title. He looked at her. Just her. Liam broke the silence with a grin, gesturing to the skewers. "Eat before it gets cold. Food like this doesn't wait." She laughed softly, and then, unbelievably, she ate. Garlic, ginger, the char of the grill. It wasn't just food. It was freedom. And for the first time in years, Isabel Hartley, CEO, survivor, paralyzed but unbroken, felt something she hadn't let herself feel in far too long. She felt seen.